tell me, how did Chippy start? I know you were doing it for years before, obviously NFTs came around and became popular, which is my favorite type of creation, by the way. I only, for the most part, love the things that existed before NFTs, because
Mm.
that guarantees that it's not a cash grab, or that it's more of a passion. How did Chippy start?
Yeah, man. Well, so it all started back in 2020. So at the time I was in New York City. I was working on Team Gary V. So I was one of the people that if you ever see Gary's content on video, audio, images, like I was on that team creating that content. So I was in the office working with Gary and the team, and then suddenly COVID happened. And like a lot of people in New York City, I went from being out all day long to now being stuck inside 24/7. And for whatever reason, when early on when we had the quarantine, we were locked inside all day. I had all this time back. I wasn't commuting back and forth to Hudson Yards to the Vayner office, and I just had this itch to like do something more with my time, especially because I couldn't see my friends or anything. And so randomly, I had this urge to get back into art. Something that I had dropped about a decade ago. And I bought this old drawing tablet on Amazon, way overpriced, but it worked, and it came in. And as soon as it arrived, dude, I was hooked. Like that's all I want to do. Like I would literally do my Gary V work in the day, and I was so excited. I would get through as much as I could just so I could hurry up and start drawing again. And eventually, I started a live drawing show on Instagram every night called Drawing with Zain. Oh, sorry, every week. It was supposed to be 1 hour. It would go like 4 or 5 hours every night. We'd like make stuff together. And eventually, while I was drawing and creating and getting really into it, pretty early on, I created a series of characters I was trapped in my little apartment with. And one of those monsters went on to become Chippy, who's this red little three-horned devil character. And my small community at the time, who was like really into this kind of stuff, loved Chippy. Like everyone was like, "Where's the Chippy merch? We want more Chippy." And just organically, he became the mascot of these series of monsters. And for the last 2 years, until this year when I launched Chippy's World, I've just been creating content around Chippy. You can go to my Instagram, you can go to even my LinkedIn. I have just a ton of posts of me hanging out with Chippy in New York, going on adventures with Chippy. And so it's just like the last 2 years of creating Chippy and building his personality and this character.
That's awesome. And then when did you begin to think, this could also be an NFT project?
Yeah, it was a long time. So I joined VFriends. So VFriends dropped in May of 2021.
Yeah.
At the time I was on Team Gary before then, like I mentioned, and I'd say like February, a couple months before VFriends dropped, I was brought on as like the second employee at VFriends. So I was the head of community and content at VFriends. And it was just like me and Andy, the president, and we had, all these amazing creators and stuff. And at the time, I didn't know anything about NFTs. This is before Bored Apes and Cool Cats, for all these other projects that we all know about now. So it was really early. And as I'm, joining every Clubhouse conversation at the time, because at the time that's what was up. As I'm learning, watching YouTube videos, as I'm really getting into crypto and Web3, so I can be good at my job to launch VFriends successfully. I'm learning it, and the more I'm learning it, it's clicking. It's making sense. And I'm getting really into it. And so as I'm like, okay, I'm going to launch VFriend successfully because that's my job. But also, I think eventually I could do my own thing here because I love creating. And that kind of lit the fire. And over time, over all of 2021 last year, collecting, launching VFriends, but also collecting NFTs, being part of other communities. I slowly got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I think I'm ready. I think 2022 is going to be the year I do it. But I want to give myself a year to like really understand and make sure I fully understand the responsibility of being a founder for a collection like this.
I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, the VFriends launch was so interesting too, because it was very early. It was like
Yeah.
it was so you guys all did a great job of educating people around it. People in the collectibles space knew Gary, but and even still today, but especially back then, people were very critical of the concept of putting real money into into NFTs. And Gary comes out with his drawings, which now people are like, oh yeah, it's amazing, but then it was obviously a different attitude, because
Yeah.
it was new. But that was great. And he has a way of sort of pioneering that, which is why both of us have spent time and wanted to spend time in that ecosystem, and it's always great, like, to see where that leads people, and obviously in this case where it led Chippy.